Welcome to Story Matrix. Another day, another story. Hey everyone! The Matrix is multiplying rapidly and we are celebrating the year 2123. Sorry, it's 2023, it's definitely 2023. And we saw that people getting plugged into the Matrix are feeling unhappy with themselves in 2023. So, the Matrix has decided to present you with some true stories that are so bizarre, creepy and spine-chilling that you will feel lucky to be wherever you are by the end of this video. Warning: not for the faint-hearted. The Creepy Butcher, the murder of the Groene family. A deranged pedo named Joseph Edward Duncan was already on the run from the cops for a past sexual assault. He was incredibly charming and manipulative, and was truly pure evil. He camped outside a family's rural home, unseen by them. He picked it out after driving past it and seeing children's toys outside. He watched them from afar, got to know their routine with the intent of kidnapping the children, 10-year-old Dylan, 8-year-old Shasta. Jed found the lock on the door was broken, entered the home in the middle of the night and tied up the mom, dad and teenage son. He put Shasta and Dylan in his car and killed the rest of the family with a hammer. He traveled around various campsites and cabins with Shasta and Dylan captive, sexually abusing, torturing and raping them. He eventually shot Dylan but Shasta talked him out of killing her. Jed ended up telling her she taught him how to love. The scariest part is a CCTV footage of Jed and Shasta at a gas station. Because you could easily believe they were just a normal dad and a grumpy daughter if you were an onlooker. Eventually, he took her to a diner where he was finally apprehended when a waitress noticed something was up and Shasta was saved after 7 weeks in his clutches. As he was dragged away, he called to her, "Promise me you'll visit me in prison," and she said she would. I don't know if she ever did. Jed was put on death row and found to be guilty of 3 previous child murders. He died a few months ago from cancer. But the worst part of it all is how horrible Shasta's life has been afterwards. Drug addiction, in and out of jail, losing her children etc. The Wichita Massacre. H.G., the lone survivor of what would later be called the Wichita Massacre. She was a 25-year-old elementary school teacher at the time, and had gone to the triplex where her boyfriend, Jason Beffert, a science teacher, lived with 2 roommates. Brad Haka, a chemist, and Aaron Sander, who was studying to become a priest. H.G. settled in front of the TV and began grading papers when Heather Muller, a friend of Aaron Sanders, showed up. The 5 friends watched TV and eventually retired to their various bedrooms. H.G. was woken from her sleep shortly after by loud voices and the bedroom door being kicked open. The 2 perps eventually gathered all of the persons in the residence and herded them to the bedroom and ordered them, at gunpoint, to strip. Many atrocities occurred as hours went by, but in the end H.G., after being shot in the head in a frozen soccer field, ran naked for almost a mile to find a house with Christmas lights, it was mid-December, to beg for assistance. The uninvited guest. A guy the first was good friends with had a party one night and called me to invite me over. It was me and my wife's first day off together in a while and our daughter was 2 years old. I mentioned it to my wife and my daughter said, "No, don't go daddy." Of course I can't resist that, so I stayed home and we had a good night. My friend, however, had the worst night of his life. His party was going good and everything was fine, even though there was a friend of a friend there who no one really knew. Turns out the stranger had been smoking PCP and decided to start killing people. He took a butcher knife and slashed 3 people's throats. My friend's wife threw their kids out of a 2-story window and jumped out herself, took them into the woods and called the police. All 3 people died. The police found the guy walking down the side of the road covered in blood and incoherent. He had no idea what he just did. Coming home to horror. I remember reading about a military guy and how his homecoming quickly turned into one of the worst days of his life. The guy, after doing 2 tours overseas, wanted to surprise his family and came home. They lived in a remote location and he drove all the way there without informing anyone. He knocked on the door but nobody answered. He found a foul smell coming from the house. He broke the door down and went inside and discovered the rotting dead bodies of his wife and 2 kids. Turned out the mom had a sudden heart attack or stroke or something. The 2 little kids had died of starvation or dehydration as they were too young to care for themselves. What a tragic and horrific ending to this veteran's family. The Dnipropetrovsk maniacs. A group of 3 teenagers in Ukraine started out committing petty robbery. They moved on to torturing animals. Not long after that they just started murdering strangers. They killed a bunch of people by bashing the shit out of them with household tools for no reason. Knowing there are people like that in the world is terrifying. People who will just murder complete strangers just for their own entertainment. Missing child found in her bed. Paulette went to bed one night in her home in New Mexico and then vanished. After a 9-day search, she was found dead, in the very bed she went missing from. The case is still not completely understood, and there is a lot of controversy surrounding it. On the night of March 21, 2010, 4-year-old Paulette Gabarra Farah was put to bed as usual by her mother, Lizette Farah. In the morning, when her nanny Erica came to wake her, she vanished. After a 9-day search, Paulette was found dead on March 31, in blankets at the end of her bed. It was ruled she had rolled over in the night and died accidentally. But the case to this day remains controversial. What was strange was that her body had never been found before. Her mother had given interviews in the bedroom and it would have obviously been searched, which aroused even more suspicion she had been placed there. It is still not completely known what happened to Paulette in 2010. Do you guys feel lucky to be alive yet? Before we move on to the final one for the day, please comment below about your resolutions for the year, which is definitely 2023 and not 2123. The Nutty Putty Cave Incident. A spelunker got stuck upside down in a narrow cave for 26 hours. Crews tried to pull him out with pulleys, but had to be careful not to break his legs, because that could be fatal with the circumstances he was in. Rescuers even almost dislodged him, only for an anchor to fail at the last second, plunging him back into the crevice. He eventually died, and they sealed the cave shut with him inside. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for more.